All right, Greg, I usually start off with asking someone about their franchise story, how they accidentally fall into it. But when I was looking at your background, I don't know that it's accidentally fallen into it. I think it's part of like Sharp Spring gets acquired and here's where you go. So
Here's where you go. Yeah.
I don't know that I can say tell me your franchise story, but I will say tell me your perspective on franchising now that that's one of the divisions that you oversee.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I really like the franchise space, and I think part of it is it just sort of fits with my personality, and the way my brain works is I'm very much a systems thinker and someone who builds processes and systems for success from an operational perspective, and so I like that franchises do that for their franchisees. And then, with inside the world of Constant Contact, we very much focus at Constant Contact on helping the small stand tall and helping small businesses out punch their size and beat their competitors. And I think when you look at the franchise space and the way that it works is, you're very much as a franchisee, a small business owner, you're just buying into a brand and an operating system. And you got to go out there and make your business work and make it grow. And we provide you with the tools to do that. So I think it just sort of, it works with all the things that we've worked with on across Sharp Spring and now Constant Contact.
I'm sure you're not surprised by this, but I mean, I'll give a high level one. We work with a multi-billion-dollar business that is closing plenty of agreements on an annual basis. And I said, okay, you have a giant, robust sales team and you're doing all the right things. How's your email campaigning going? Like, yeah, we don't have that. We got to get that set up. But does it surprise you? Like, I mean, even a franchisee on a small local level, like the fact that the solutions that you have really can, I mean, at a very affordable rate, make a huge difference. Yet businesses are like, yeah, we'll get to that later on email.
Yeah, I mean, it always blows my mind that when people are like, "Oh, yeah, we don't really have a email marketing strategy." I'm like, well, to me, that all that sounds like is you don't own your audience, right? Like you're borrowing your audience from some social platform that can charge you more or bury you in the feed or whatever it is. But man, like really owning that email address and that communication channel that is, for the most part, free, super cheap. I mean, but when you get to a large customer base and you need to mail them in mass, there aren't many tools that can do that. And Constant Contact is well within reason of affordability for pretty much anyone to use. So yeah, I think it's absurd if you don't have an email marketing strategy. Like, sure, it takes some forethought. You got to think about it. You got to dedicate yourself to it. You got to make a plan to go out and communicate with your audience. But if you're not communicating with your customers, you're going to lose them.
If I go backwards in time in our business and our internal business, we were a Sharp Spring user, and we went with Sharp Spring over everybody else at that point, including Constant Contact. So, it's smart. It's smart when the bigger companies come in and say, "We'll swallow you up so that we can, so you stop bothering us." So I do think that's a good move. Would you say was Sharp Spring a competitor, and then is HubSpot the biggest competitor? Like, how do you, or Salesforce? How do you set your competitive landscape?
Yeah, I mean, I think Constant Contact, 20-year-old brand that pretty much invented email marketing.
Right.
And over the years, there's been a lot of competitors that have come out to really embrace marketing automation on top of email marketing, using email marketing as an entry point to then accelerate what you're doing from an email marketing perspective and make it so that you can do a heck of a lot more with a lot less resources. You just have to be able to think through it from a strategy perspective. And Sharp Spring, one of the great things that Sharp Spring did was focus on agencies, because agencies can help with that extra level of sophistication you need and the extra level of strategy you need to be really good at marketing automation. And if you're doing it right, you get to optimize your entire front funnel from top to bottom. And that's really what SharpSpring focused on. And so I think, yeah, for sure. I mean, Constant Contact was looking around the marketplace and seeing that they were being attacked, and all these competitors were coming in, and yeah, go out and buy one of them and start bringing in the technology into the stack. And I think that's one of the things that people don't really understand about Constant Contact today. They probably used or heard about Constant Contact 10 years ago, 15 years ago, even 5 years ago. And Constant Contact's not the same anymore. There's a lot more in the platform than there used to be. And especially with the acquisition of SharpSpring and another company called Retention Science around e-commerce, there's a lot of really cool stuff going on here, and the company's really growing and pushing into marketing automation on a whole other level.
Glad you said what you just said, because I would imagine that there is a perception is reality issue, because people have a viewpoint on Constant Contact because it's been around so long. I mean, obviously it's I was not in the boardroom making the decision, but it's almost like rebranding to SharpSpring might have been a better idea. But is that a hurdle that now, as odd as it is, that you have to overcome too? Is the re-education that we're more than your grandfather's old email marketing tool?
For sure. I mean, I went earlier this year to the IFA conference, and we had a booth and sat in on some of the sessions, and people would come walking by the booth and they'd be like, "Oh, Constant Contact, I know you, or I use you." And you'd have to chase them down because it's, you think, but you don't realize that Constant Contact has changed fairly significantly. And even more so on the franchise or partnership side, because we don't advertise a lot of the partner tools we have. Like, there are some very specific tools we've built for partners and for enterprises and multi-location businesses that allow you the control you need, that brand control at the corporate level, and still give you the flexibility of having multiple accounts at your individual locations. You can get all the reporting back to the corporate national. From corporate, you can email on behalf of and through your individual locations, where all the reporting goes back to them, right? So, there's campaign approval, there's all these different mechanisms and feature sets that we've built for businesses just like this, that aren't the things you see in our commercials on television, right? So, I think, yes, that re-education or peeling back of the onion for what Constant Contact is and the tools that we've built over the last 20 years is a huge hurdle. And it's funny because I come from SharpSpring, where we would have killed for this brand recognition.
Right.
But the brand recognition also comes with a perception that we have to change. So trust me, I'll take Constant Contact's brand recognition and changing the perception over the other problem.
Yeah, I would imagine everyone that you talk with in a sales process understands the business name, and then you have to open up the channel of here's what the possibilities are. But to getting in front of, say, a franchise audience or a small business audience, like how are you going about doing so in a place where you have to re-educate and open up doors at the same time, and probably find the right timing that they have to be frustrated with whatever solution they have right now?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we're doing today is straight up outbound, cold calling, trying to connect with people on LinkedIn, and sending out some cold emails to try to entice them to have a conversation with us about the fact that Constant Contact's not what you think it is. Some of these people are coming inbound. We do events like the IFA. We have lots of conversations with people, but some of them are just frustrated with the tool they have, and it's either too much for them, and so they're looking for something that's a little less, but and they can pay a lot less for it, or they are hearing, especially on the franchise space, they're hearing a lot from their franchisees that the tool they have is just way above their heads, and they can't keep up. They don't want to do it. They can't have that flexibility of whether it's corporate or local or shared or blended. It's one or the other at this point
Right.
with the tool set that's out there. And Constant Contact has a unique offering that allows you to kind of blend that and do both. And so they hear about that from other people that are using us and come knocking on our door.
Because you solve so many issues versus, say, a very specific franchise CRM, how important is franchising, or what is the mix of franchising as it relates back to the business?
The business of Constant Contact as a whole, is that what you mean?
As clients, yeah, as a client base.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's a very large portion of our customer base, and I don't know the exact percentage, that are franchisees, whether they're corporate, national franchise, or endorses us or not. They see this as a way to market at the local level,
Mhm.
and they want to own their list, and so they use Constant Contact. A very large growing part of our business is working with franchisors to build a program at the national level, whether they do a bulk buy for hundreds of locations or whether they partner with us to expose our tools to their customer base, their member base, their franchisees, so that they can purchase it on their own at a discounted rate. Like that part of our business is the fastest growing part of our business.
See a lot of evolution that's going to have to happen with privacy rules, or have you been seeing that here's your database, whether you can market to them or not is okay?
I mean, we always, I mean, within email marketing in general, every email marketing company has this. We have a compliance team. We have plenty of conversations around how to market best through email and who you can and cannot contact. So certainly that's a hot topic and something that I wish it was easier to educate people on, because people that aren't in the email marketing business or aren't marketing agencies themselves don't really understand it. And so they grab a list and they want to send to it. And then, they get hit with some compliance concerns and, hey, let's back up. Or I have a list of 500,000. I'm going to upload it to Constant Contact and send them all out in a day. Well, no, you need to warm your email up a little bit before you do that. So, those concepts I wish were a little more out there, and available in the market, or that people understood them better. But I think it's just the nature of email marketing today. And look, I think at the same time, I mean, I get spam all day, every day. People are always reaching out to me, and it's hard to cut through the noise. And I think the inbox providers are just trying to do right by their customers and making sure that there's not a lot of noise in their email inbox. So it's just something that I think it's the nature of the beast today.
Hi, Nick. Hope your week is going well. Following up on my previous email, whether we can be your current growth strategy partner.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what's always fascinating about email marketing, and obviously you've been in agency world too, is I think the tactic is phenomenal. I think the message or the positioning is the issue. And so if I were taking over your marketing department and speaking directly towards, say, a franchisee or a franchisor audience, like that's where I would start playing around with, because it's like if your open rate is 100% and you have 100 people, or your open rate is 1% and you have 10,000 people, like you actually want to tighten it up so that your true buyers, those that really care about what you're giving them, are going to interact with your content. And I think for whatever reason, and this is the Facebook world that we live in, forever, it was like, go get people to like your page, and businesses would put the like sign on their windows, which genius of Facebook. They got everybody to advertise Facebook for them. But then you get on there and they're like, the audience that you built, you're gonna have to pay to get in front of them. So like the tactics are phenomenal. The messaging and the positioning end up being weak. And so where in my opinion, a business starts thriving is when the two can be united. And for you, I think that's a huge opportunity with franchise brands, because nobody's talking about the strategy. They're just talking about the tactical solutions.
Right.
If you built content or storytelling or use an IFA for something like that, now all of a sudden the storytelling changes and they're like, oh, you're right. I do need to make sure that the message is going to resonate with my audience.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're using email marketing as an outreach tool, as opposed to keeping in contact with your current customer base and getting them to buy again or upsell, to a different product or service. But if you're using it for outreach to new customers, to leads, you gotta make sure that you're being relevant in the messaging. You got to make sure that you're not being over salesy and over pitchy. And I recommend all the time to our customers that you got to be finding a way to add value to somebody.
Yeah.
You got to put something valuable in your message to them, not to you, to them, right? It's like going on a date with a new girl, and you're pitching about yourself the whole time. Like, do you think you're going to have a second date? Probably not.
Well, if she's that desperate, then maybe, but that's gonna be the rare case. No, I mean, look, I 100% agree with you. I think there needs to be some evolution in the process or the way of thinking. I have this dream that I'm not going to go and actually accomplish because I'm too busy. I was like, I'm going to create an Instagram handle where it's just say yes. And I'm just going to say yes to every salesperson who contacts me for a week and see how much content I can develop.
Oh
I mean, who knows? But there's so much clutter, and that's where I even think about the mailbox. Like the mailbox has been vacated currently. It's not as crowded or cluttered as it used to be. And so if you're trying to figure out a way to break through, you got to figure out like what's going to connect with the audience. And obviously you know this, but
yeah. And I also think that it's one of the reasons why I think as you get more sophisticated in your email marketing, and especially marketing automation, when you start getting into, triggering responses, automated email responses based on the behavior of your customer base or your leads. What are they clicking on? What are they engaging with? What, did they go to your website? Did they look at a specific page? Like there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do. But as a franchise group or a franchisor or franchisee, in some instances, you're going to need to work with a marketer, a marketing agency who really can help you, guide you down that path. And so, we want to make sure that we provide the tools. And sometimes those tools can become more complex and more sophisticated. And at that point, either you got to have somebody like that understands it on your team, or you got to go to a marketing agency that can help you do it right and do it the right way, and really think through how are you going to engage with your customer base so that when you get your chance to hit that inbox, that you're getting somebody to open and click and engage with your brand.
I would imagine for new franchisors or franchisees that are breaking through that want to get in touch with you. Again, it's not an issue of having awareness. They got to know what problem you're solving. What is that typical problem that's happening that makes them say, "I'm going to reach out"? Because it's or I mean, obviously you're proactively selling it by proactively doing outreach. But is there a specific problem? If the ghost is watching right now, they're like, "Okay, I do have that issue. Let me reach out."
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different depending on where you are in the life cycle of your franchise, especially. Emerging franchises, let's say less than 20 locations, less than 50 locations, somewhere in that range. You need a strategy. You need to be able to hand off to your franchisees a marketing strategy. And that marketing strategy is not just, hey, buy a bunch of ads and drive traffic to a page, right? Especially if that page is a corporate page. You're going to need to get those leads passed to you locally. You're going to need to collect those leads locally. And you want to be able to own your list. Own it by having that list in a tool like Constant Contact, so that you can communicate with them when you have offers, when you have coupons, when you have events. So I think that's part of it. And especially if you're a new franchisee in an emerging franchise, like, that's your business, right? Those are your customers. That's where you're going to get the revenue from. So, I wouldn't slack on that. As the franchise itself grows and gets larger, and there are a ton of leads, there's a lot of traffic. You got to find a way to, again, cut through the noise. You got to find a way to own that audience. And franchisees, I think, from a Constant Contact where we market and the brand really well, what is that it's simple, it's easy to use. You get the reporting on engagement. You can kind of do exactly what you want to do and what you need to do in the tool. So for a franchisee, in Constant Contact makes a lot of sense. For a franchisor, what the problem is that they're facing that brings them our way is, I want brand control. My franchisees, I want to make sure they don't go rogue and, upload a picture of a cat when that has nothing to do with our brand, right? And so we allow that level of control. We allow locked content blocks, things like that. But I still want to make sure that my franchisees have the tools that they need to be able to market outside of what we do corporately, nationally. We still are going to do those things, but I want them to be able to do their own in a tool that's simple and easy to use. And that flexibility of corporate, national, plus local is a huge part of what Constant Contact has built, and the pain point that we see that people come to us most often saying, gosh, I wish I could do a little bit of both, or, hey, I want to enable my franchisees with a tool that they can use, but I still want to be able to control my brand.
Love it. I mean, Greg, what you just said shows that you actually know what you're talking about when it comes to what franchisees or franchisors want. So really appreciate that. Thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for re-educating us on what Constant Contact is up to today. For Greg, I'm Nick. This was another episode of Meet the Supplier.